Yes, sir. So let's see. When we talk about this kind of unrestricted warfare, of course, we know that CCP has their top kind of slogan, political correctness to protect them, which is anti-Asian discrimination. It's like all the things you talk about, espionage among the Chinese people through the border from Chinese government. They say you are anti-Asian, right? It's the same as the terrorists in Mid East using free bomb stand to protect themselves, and actually so ridiculous because CCP, the regime, is the most evil group organization to discriminate Chinese people and of course Asian people. And also white Palestinian people cannot get free because of those terrorism regimes, organizations based in these areas to control the people there. And anyway, let's say, so they are not only use this kind of slogan, but also they are using independence. We know now they are talking about Palestine is an independent country, and also we want people to get independent. So this is to use another. I mean, that is another tactic to use nationalism to isolate people from the West culture, Western civilized countries, and to build their own so-called independent regime. And once it happens, Chinese Communist Party can strongly influence and control these new independent small regimes because CCP had, compared to them, has much stronger influence and power to do these things. That's exactly what CCP is doing in the One Belt, One Road, this kind of countries. So we won't touch it because recently it happened in Japan. Yeah, so when this report come out, actually it's not a surprise because at least 1 year ago, CCP has launched extensive propaganda about this issue. So that is about the Okinawa, one of the Japan's southern prefecture, the independence. Recently, the Nikkei Asia reported that it said a wave of misleading videos aimed at stirring up sentiment for the independence of Okinawa has been spreading across social media, with nearly 200 inauthentic accounts identified by as key drivers. And also, when this video are spreading, these are identified as the accounts made in China. And also, these videos were all fabricated. Their virality is real because CCP know how to promote the views, and they have their tools like TikTok, and their algorithm set it secretly or openly in the other social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all like that. So this post featuring the videos apparently racked up over 7 million engagement on Twitter alone. So that shows CCP is one of the big operations on Okinawa independence. Why CCP want to get Okinawa? Because that will be a very important step in CCP's island chain strategy against the U.S. island chain policy strategy. And of course, using this kind of independence is a very important keyword in CCP's nationalism technology in the unrestricted warfare, because they leverage the local people to believe that they should be independent from the original country they're belonging. And also, CCP will fuel this kind of independence through fabricating the history and work with the local people, indigenous people, to financially support them, to give them welfare. Basically, you can consider as the big wolf give candy to the kids and bring the kids away from home, go to the forest, and then the wolf can eat the kids. This is the story always repeated in our childhood, but now CCP make it true. But unfortunately, most of the politicians in those areas, they are like the kids, only want the candies, but they forget that they will be eaten by Chinese Communist Party. So besides why I say that CCP has prepared a lot of propaganda, Now I can show you one of the leading propaganda that published last July on Chinese People's Daily. So that is CCP's top propaganda agency. It says, why did the governor of Okinawa go to Tongzhou, which is a place belonging to Beijing area, go to Tongzhou to worship during his visit to China? There is a painful history of ridicule behind it. So it falsely claims that Japan's abolition of the Ryukyu kingdom back in 1880s and establishment as Okinawa prefecture is completely illegal. So it shows CCP stands on this issue, and they help to prepare all the things. Basically, it's like the drama, the Okinawa current governor visits China and go to drown this drama in China, in Tongzhou, in the stage CCP prepared as one actor to make this narrative looks true. And so, sir, according to your knowledge, like you study Soviet Union, you study Communist China, you study unrestricted warfare, have you noticed this kind of tactics in Chinese Communist Party or in other like communist or other kind of enemy regimes?
Well, yes, that's a great question. So there's a lot to unpack there. So first of all, you mentioned the anti-Asian discrimination. This is the same thing the old Soviets used in different areas, but whites against blacks, okay? They used that to discriminate and divide Americans in a variety of different ways. Today, with the diversity, equity, inclusion, the CRT and such, China has a rich market to create this same type of atmosphere here in the United States, okay, and divide Americans based on race, religion, sex, and other things, because our own progressive liberal party is doing it. As related to Japan, Japan's a perfect example of what we're talking about, unrestricted warfare. Okinawa is a strategic point for U.S. military. Okinawa's had some issues there with U.S. military servicemen having some issues there on that island, okay? And so China is very adept at taking a long-term approach here and starting to now slowly drive a specific narrative using history, although warping that history to their benefit, to start to create a false perception and a false narrative of not only the island against its own people in Japan, the rest of Japan, but against the United States. They're very adept at this. We need to make no further look than Governor Walz from Minnesota here, who's running in the current presidential campaign. Here's a guy who visited China 30 times. He's a China apologist, okay? He may be compromised. He may be complicit and may be corrupt with China, okay? But he's an apologist for China. He echoes China's propaganda in many different ways. So does the Biden administration. The Biden administration, as we've talked about, I believe has a Manchurian president. He's been compromised. I think he's complicit in this. Electric vehicles, solar and wind. They're using all these things to drive their so-called green energy, okay? But where does all that money flow to? It flows back to China. In talking about the electric vehicle aspects, you're talking about collection devices and such. It's amazing what you can do with the car as a collection device. And as you've seen with different, like with the Tesla stuff, if someone has electric vehicle and you can control it, you can shut it down, you can collect the information. Even Ford recently had to go back and talk about the software they were putting into their vehicles, which would capture everybody's conversations, okay, here in the United States. So China is very adept at doing this. They're following the old tactics and techniques of the Soviets, but they're doing it in steroids in a much more aggressive, much more strategic and well thought out manner, in my opinion.
Sir, yes, when you talk about that, how China can leverage downbullet this kind of government officials in the United States to achieve this kind of unrestricted warfare, like how they did how they are doing in the Okinawa to the governor in Japan. We need to remind people that recently there is intelligence report released by ODNI, and also the House Committee highlighted it. It says U.S. detects China interference in 2024 election. China-linked actors were said to have directly interfered intents of downvote races, particularly when it comes to issues that most concern the Chinese Communist Party. By the way, the issues most concerned by the Chinese Communist Party basically means the issues can damage the United States society, system, and also freedom. So when they talk about that, let's say, not only terms of downvote candidates can be interfered because CCP has conducted long-term this kind of strategy against the downvote officials in the U.S. For example, Colonel Lawrence Saling has published recently that the pictures about it's called Roundtable on China-U.S. Subnational Legislature Cooperation that was organized by Chinese CCP's United Front Work Department controlled association called Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries, and also the Standing Committee of Jiangsu Provincial People's Congress. It sounds like Congress, but it's just the CCP's branch of Leninist organization. And also the U.S. side is State Legislative Leaders Foundation. That is a roundtable conference held in China in November 2023. I mean, you can just imagine how China try to corrupt all these guests visiting China. I mean, I didn't mean they can be successful to get all these kind of guests from U.S. corrupted. Definitely some of them refuse to be corrupted, but at least you can think about CCP have their targets from U.S. and they will keep focusing on these targets, and then they still have big chance to win some of them to help China. This is how it works. And also, I showed that on my Twitter that, for example, the U.S.-China Governor Forum, when it was held in China, Xi Jinping attended that and gave his instructions, doctrines to those governors from U.S. and Chinese officials. So all these things actually, it is, according to CCP's perspective, they publicly claim that China prefers California model of single U.S. subnational diplomacy. So they like Newsom, of course. And when we talk about Vice President for Harris administration, Tim Walz, he was also a downvote senator and also later the governor of Minnesota, right? So, sir, when we talk about this issue, we reach to another issue which poses serious national security in the United States, right? The same words we talked again at our episode. So what's your opinions on that? And what do you think should be the countermeasures for U.S. government and Americans? Thank you.
Well, you raised a great point, sir. We've talked before about the governor of New York, two governors of New York, and the infiltration by Chinese nationals working for the CCP. California, Governor Newsom, a perfect example of a useless idiot, in my opinion. The old saying from Lenin was useful idiots, all right? Useful for China, but useless for the United States. Here's a governor who's creating a perfect model of socialist subjugation and destroying the businesses, the economy, the environment in California. As we speak day to day, he's destroying their economy as well. And he greets Xi as a king, okay, and rolls out the red carpet and cleans up the streets of California. Governor Walz of Minnesota, same thing, apologist. So what can we do about this? This is extremely important because when you're talking about the U.S. elections coming up here, China has no doubt infiltrated to a variety of different levels at the state, local, and federal. The level of influence they've had, we've seen with the governors in California, New York, and Minnesota. And those are tens of millions of votes, okay, that people have potentially can have impacted based on policy decisions and policy influences and such. So it's extremely dangerous here. What we need to do here in America is open our eyes. And as Dr. Yin and I have talked on this program for the last couple of years on China's unrestricted warfare, people need to pull their heads out of their rear orifices and realize we are in a war. We are in a cognitive war. It is the existential threat to the United States of America. And the more we focus on just the kinetic aspects and stay reactive, we're putting ourselves in a more dangerous position day by day to lose this war. Look at California, look where Minnesota's gone, and look where New York's gone, okay? There used to be prevalent, predominant economic powerhouses, okay? They're all going down the crap hole now. Socialist, economic, moral, and other different areas. This is part of a concerted strategy. People must understand this is not a one-off. This is part of a long-term strategy, part of China's unrestricted warfare. But it's also connected to those on the domestic cognitive war, willing, useless idiots like Gavin Newsom, Waltz, and the mayors of New York who are willing to kowtow to the CCP to their benefit politically, not realizing they're committing political suicide for the United States of America.
Thank you so much, sir. So, yeah, today we have covered various topics, but all related to the U.S. national security and also the countermeasures against CCP's unrestricted warfare. And thank you for listening to our episode.